what's it like trying to take on the big banks?
It's about putting more money in the back pocket of Kiwis. We don't have branches, we don't need large numbers of staff, so it just means that we need to make less margin, less profit, and we can share some of those benefits back with our customers. We were the first startup to apply for a bank license since Kiwi Bank.
Wow. Do you foresee Dosh being a household name?
Always looking at how can we do things better, cheaper, faster, with better benefits for New Zealanders, and then how can we bring it to market in a way that meets consumers' needs.
The Kiwi Fintech taking on the big banks. Shane Marsh from Dosh joins us in the studio. Mate, you have chosen a big problem to work on. Good on you.
Great, well thanks for having me along today.
Yeah, how did you get into this space?
Yeah, no, good question. So about 4 years ago, I was living in Singapore, working for one of the Australian banks, been sent up there from Auckland, and I was really using a lot of the tech that was up there and thinking, well, what a great innovative place it is with a lot of options and a customer base that's really getting a lot of value from some of the offerings. Why don't they have this back in New Zealand? And then COVID hit, chatting to my neighbour, who's now the co-founder of Dosh, and we came back to New Zealand and set up Dosh to try and give customers a better value and new innovation in New Zealand.
And why is it that you think that we don't have these options here in New Zealand when they are quite, prominent in Europe and in different countries?
Yeah, it's a really good question. There's a number of answers to that. So there's something called open banking, which is something that started in Europe kind of 10 or so years ago, and it's a way of letting new providers come in and access all the services required to provide banking services. That's something that's just beginning to roll into New Zealand now. Also, in terms of just some of the innovation and some of the solutions, just hadn't quite made it to New Zealand. So they got all the way to Australia, but they hadn't quite got here. And so we just saw that opportunity as, well, why can't we bring them into market and let Kiwis benefit from what others in the world are benefiting from? Yeah,
well, we'll get into some of the offerings that you do have, but you talk to your neighbour, you end up back here, you must be going through that COVID sort of time as well, which throws a spanner in the works. But what's the first step when someone decides, let's try and take on the banks? Like, what do you need to sign up somewhere? Do you need sort of authority from somebody? How does that actually work logistically?
Yeah, so my co-founder and I both had kind of 25-year corporate careers. The last 13 for me was in a bank. And so understanding how it works, like what would be required to set up an organisation providing those solutions was really, I suppose, the crux of it. So we set up a company, we did a fundraising round. For me, coming from a corporate background, I'd never done any of that before, so it was all really new. But once we had some funds, we were able to get started and get an offering in market. And then we've really spent kind of 4 years kind of building that out to be kind of a full service offering across a debit card, savings and home loans for customers.
Okay, so we're in 2025 now. You're 4 years into the journey. So, talk us through some of the products that Dosh offers in the market and how they've gone down, I guess, with the market.
Yeah, so we've got kind of three leading products and offerings at the moment. The first is the Dosh Visa debit card. That's probably our longest product in the market. So it's a debit card. You can firstly download the Dosh app, register, takes about 2 minutes. You have to provide your ID so we know who you are. And then you get an account, you can put money in it, and you can order your free debit card. It arrives in the mail about 5 to 10 days later, right? You can use Apple Google Pay, and then you're away. So put money in. Now with our card, for every dollar you spend, you get paid some cash back. So over a month, you get paid up to $10 cash back every single month that you use it. Now that's quite different than the banks. The banks usually have to pay them $10, and they'll give you some airy-fairy points, which over the years have been watered down, so they're not kind of worth that much. But we actually find that customers prefer cash in their pockets. We pay up to $10 every month to use our card. So that's our first offering. The second offering we have is our savings account, which is called Strive. It's an on-call savings rate, which offers 3.1% at the moment, which you'll find compared to what the banks offer is really competitive. And those funds sit on trust in one of the major banks today. It's just when holding it via Dosh, you can get a much stronger rate.
And then the third offering?
The third offering is our latest offering, which is a Dosh home loan powered by Westpac, which we brought into the market in March of this year.
Okay, and how does that work?
Yeah, so this is really interesting, right? So we decided that we wanted to offer a really strong home loan offering because home loans is such an important part of everyday Kiwis' lives, whether you're applying for your first home loan or you've got a home loan and you just want a better deal. So with Dosh, you can get a great rate, and we've got our rates available on our website if you find them very competitive. And when you move to Dosh, if you're moving from another bank, you can get up to kind of 1% cash back available. And you'll find that those rates are very common when you're changing banks, right? But on top of that, on top of a rate and cashback, which is quite normal when you're moving banks, we also offer a discount on top of that. That discount is an annual loyalty payment, which we make every year. And that on a loan of about $800K, that works out to be about $800 a year in cashback and paid directly into your Dosh account. So how do we do that? Well, that's some of the benefit that we get from bringing our loans via Dosh to Westpac. They pay us, and we share that back to our customers.
Well, so when people move debt from one bank to the other, so Dosh effectively through your offering, they potentially can get a cashback on the total amount, but then you've got a completely separate loyalty type rebate that's paid per annum based on the size of the loan.
Yeah, so banks in the market today, they generally pay when you move from one bank to another bank. The receiving bank will generally pay up to 1% cash back as contribution to you moving your business. That can help pay some of the legal fees and also some of the effort required to change banks. So there's an incentive there. That's pretty normal across the market at the moment, and that's what the banks offer. In addition, Dosh is adding its own discount, which is paid annually over the life of the home loan. So every year we pay a certain rate to customers to continue to have their loan via Dosh.
So if someone was using all of the products, like could it look like this? So basically you sign up, get a debit card like you would. I know most people probably are in the credit card cult these days and want to have a credit card and whatever, but if you're a debit card user, you're going to be spending money anyway. You're going to get up to $10 a month back just by using that debit card.
Yep.
And then if your loan is with you guys, you're going to get the loyalty payback over a 12-month period. And then if you've got excess savings, then you can whack those into a on-call savings account at 3.1%. At the time of recording this, things are obviously subject to change,
True.
Especially in this volatile market. So all of those are basically, you can sign up yourself digitally and basically be exposed to them pretty quickly.
Yeah, so everything we offer can be accessed digitally, either via our website or via the app. Our aim is to make it as easy as possible and for people to be able to access our offerings without having to speak to someone. When it comes to home loans, if you want to find out more information, you can give us your phone number and we can give you a call back and talk you through it via the website. But yeah, everything is supposed to be easy, quick to access and a quick turnaround. So those benefits you can get just by going into the Dosh app today.
And I don't know if you've seen, but there's quite a bit of content online these days about how banks have so many on-call accounts, but they're not actually interest-bearing, or there's sort of even one I'm familiar with, I'll have money in there, but I don't earn the full amount of interest on that unless I, top it up, or if I go back below a certain figure, you don't trigger the bonus interest and stuff like that. Are there any views to having even your on-call account earning a form of interest?
Yeah, so people have their transactional account. That's often the account that is linked to their card, right? And those accounts mostly don't pay interest today. Then you have the savings account. And I think what's sometimes challenging with a savings account is you're like, I've got to go into the bank branch, I've got to fill out some paperwork to get it opened. And then it's all probably just a bit too hard. So we made it that you could open the account in the app. All you need to do is enter your IID number. And then you've got this savings account and you can move money in or out and get paid the interest rate. So we noted that some of the other offerings in the market, it's 3 withdrawals if you want to get the rate, or you start to get penalised if you don't put a certain amount in each month. But we just took all of that away, right? Just make it really simple. Whatever is in that account, you're going to get paid 3.1% interest on it today, and then you can benefit from that higher rate without having to worry about how many withdrawals you've done or how much you've put in each month.
So is the overall aim with Dosh to make things faster, smoother, and digitise it, and basically have that digital offering and make it simple that we don't just currently have at the moment?
Yeah, it's about making it easy, but more than everything, it's about putting more money in the back pocket of Kiwis. So one thing we noticed when we were coming back to New Zealand is the profit that are made by the banks is really large. And at a time where people are going through a cost of living crisis where every dollar counts, we thought, well, how can we set up a service that makes it easy to use and accessible, but ultimately gives more money back to our customers, more money in the form of $10 every month on your debit card, more money in terms of better savings rate, and more money in terms of an annual loyalty payment on your home loan. And as you mentioned before, collectively, that's quite a lot of value that we're passing back to customers. The way we're able to do that is because we don't have the same degree of costs as what the banks have. We don't have branches. We don't need large numbers of staff because a lot of our services are digital, built on the latest tech and automated. So it just means that we need to make less margin, less profit, and we can share some of those benefits back with our customers.
Yeah, got you. And how have you found the response from the Kiwi marketplace?
Yeah, I think the response has been great. We've got about 40,000 customers at the moment.
Wow.
So we've seen good take up. We've spent a lot of the first 4 years really kind of building what we call build the bank, noting that Dosh isn't a bank, although we have applied to the Reserve Bank for a banking license. And now we're really we've got all those offerings in place. We can really see the value for customers. We're getting great feedback. And we're seeing customers sharing it with their friends and whānau to bring in more and more people. And we're seeing some really great growth in that regard. We would note that compared to other countries, we are kind of first in the market in this space. You know, other countries have, say like the UK, have had providers like Monzo for a number of years, doing great from a digital banking perspective. And in Australia, there's providers such as Upbank who are doing great as well. In New Zealand, it's Dosh, and we're up and we're running, and we're looking to provide the same type of services and get the same type of uptake as some of those providers have had overseas.
If there's a lack of uptake, or if you get any objection, is it the awareness piece, or is it just simply Kiwis are a little bit behind the 8 ball when it comes to exposure to this stuff, and we go, oh, I don't know, like I might let somebody else go first, I'm not sure about this?
Yeah, well, I think there's a little bit that's new in the market. So say, for example, on our savings, the questions we would get would be, are my kind of funds safe? Where are my funds? Well, the funds in our savings accounts are held on trust at the banks, at 3 of the major banks. And so with the deposit compensation scheme that's recently come out, you get that kind of protection that offers with the savings that are in our accounts. And then similarly, we get quite a few questions with the home loan offering because it's new and it hasn't really been seen in the market before. One of the questions, we get kind of 2 questions really. One is, so how does Westpac fit into this? Well, Westpac are a partner of ours. They're providing the loan. We're providing the service on top of it and the way in which you can apply and be able to access that loan in a really easy way. And the second question we get, and so people say, oh, well, you know, if Dosh goes under, you know, do I kind of lose my home loan? Well, no, your loan is with Westpac, right, via Dosh. And the second question we get is, so how does this kind of discount work, right? So it sounds, is this a little bit too good to be true?
Yeah.
So, well, no, it's about the fact that because we're bringing in the customer and we're working with Westpac to deliver the loan, we get compensation for that, and we're able to share that compensation back with the customer. So that's how that discount works.
Yeah, I almost sense that in this space, the entire financial space, like Kiwi are quite skeptical. Like we've been trained to be like, just, you know, be very careful. Like everything looks like a scam to Kiwi people. Yeah. And so then we sit in this tricky spot where we'll have, you know, a big blow up every now and then about what banks are making and whatnot, but all of our trust seems to sit with them and to a point where we're then too scared to go and look at something else. Yeah, well, trust and when it comes to people's money is really, really important. And so for us, it's about how do we build up trust over a period of time by our customers and showing that we're doing a good job of looking after their money, and where is their money held and how can they feel secure in that regard. Also, we partner with the kind of leading providers, whether it be Visa for our card, we partner with Westpac for our home loan, we partner with a company called Avanti Finance for a personal loan offering that we have. And so it's about surrounding ourselves with those trusted partners as well, so people know that, you know, we're working with the best in the market.
It's also one of the main reasons that we've applied for a banking license and we're working with the Reserve Bank on that, because bank is naturally trusted. It's an organisation that has met a certain standard and is regulated by the Reserve Bank. Now, in terms of working with other banks, we need to work at the same high level of regulation as well, and we're regulated by the Department of Internal Affairs, which is not the Reserve Bank, but it's another regulator who ensures that we're doing everything that we need to do in the market. So for us, that getting that bank license step is a next step in building that next degree of trust with Kiwi consumers.
Too many of us signed up to a KiwiSaver plan without much thought. And signing up is great, but if you've never got advice before, you could be missing out. Your KiwiSaver account could become one of your biggest assets over your lifetime. That's why getting expert advice early and ensuring you're in the right fund is so worthwhile. Generate have a team of KiwiSaver advisors available to help. Head to generatekiwisaver.co.nz/change to book a no obligation meeting. They can even come to you. A copy of the product disclosure statement is available at generatekiwisaver.co.nz. The issuer of the scheme is Generate Investment Management Limited, and of course, past performance does not guarantee future returns. Yeah, so you mentioned that Dosh isn't a bank yet, but the aim is to become the bank. What will that allow you to do that you currently can't do, or is that top secret?
Well, we offer a range of services kind of via partners. Some of those services we will be able to bring internal if we kind of get to that stage and it makes sense to do so. We're actually really pleased with the offering we have today kind of with some of our partners, because we think we bring the best of the digital experience, but we bring the established trust and credibility from other parties to bring together, I suppose, a package offering. But the main thing really is around that kind of trust and credibility, enabling customers to know that we're regulated by the Reserve Bank and we've got the capital, etc., that sits in behind us be operating at that level. It has been really interesting. There's been a lot of commentary over the last couple of years about banking competition, kicked off by the Labor government and handed off to the Commerce Commission to do some work. We've participated in all of that, then picked up with the current government when they've come into force, and they've done a parliamentary select committee around banking competition, and we've been down in Parliament a number of times to engage on those topics. The reality is that there needs to be more, there's not enough competition in banking in New Zealand. We're here to help try and change that by bringing in new offerings and providing new value to customers. So it's really a fascinating time, I think, in the history of the banking industry in New Zealand, because there is a lot of change that is currently happening and a lot of change that will come in the next 5 years as well.
So does it allow you to make offers direct to the customer without needing to use some of the current partners that you've got if you become the bank?
Yes, we become the bank. We can choose to either bring some of those in-house or continue to work with our partners. It does mean that we can work directly with the Reserve Bank. They have their own account, which is called an ESAS account, which you can kind of hold funds with directly. And so you get some of that kind of direct engagement into the industry. But for us, it's really about customer trust and confidence that when they're working with Dosh, they're working with an entity that they can feel safe and secure and trusted.
Yeah. So if you've got 40,000 customers in 4 years, what does the next 4 years look like? If you've been sort of specifically focused on building out the product, there must be a fair bit of excitement internally about where you can get to over the next half a decade.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We see ourselves being ourselves a material provider in the market in the coming 3 to 5 years. A lot of what we're investing in at the moment is awareness of our brand, awareness of our offering, building out and scaling the services as well. There's a lot more that we can add, and we've got some more exciting things coming in the next kind of 1 or 2 years. But for us, it really is about, we've really kind of pivoted from, getting those products and offerings in market, making sure they're uber competitive, and then getting them out in front of customers so that customers can access them.
I'd imagine that when you come into an industry like this and say, hey, we're open for business and that you've got big plans, that you must upset the odd person, or...
Yeah, we have disrupted a number of parties in terms of the offering that we've put in place. But I see the market as big enough for everyone, right? So, for example, the mortgage brokers offer a service which enables customers to engage with them directly and receive financial advice on what they should do with their mortgage, right? We make an offering to customers who don't need financial advice. So what I'm really looking for is a great price and
Yeah.
something that's easy to access. I don't really need financial advice. I'm open to information, but I don't need financial advice. And I'd actually, rather than engaging with someone on the phone or in a meeting, I just want to fill out a digital form and get things set up nice and easily. So for that, there are absolutely parts of the market that have different customer bases and different needs. And we're really kind of focusing on that customer who wants things to do things easily and quickly.
And is that a certain age group of customer from what you're seeing in terms of who becomes a customer?
Yeah, we used to talk about age groups, but now we talk about digital natives.
Okay.
So we used to say, we're focused on digital natives, and that's kind of 20 to 30-year-olds. But you can have digital natives who are 60, 70-year-olds, right? Digital native is someone who enjoys and prefers to use digital technology. So what we have in terms of kind of our customer base is it started relatively younger, kind of 20 to 30, when we had just a card offering. But then when we brought in savings, and now when we brought in home loans, that customer demographic has really stretched up into the 30s and 40s and a bit higher as well in terms of the customers we see coming in. So we definitely don't limit our customers on an age group. It's really customers who prefer to use digital solutions.
I saw the other day that there seems to be a number of offerings popping up where you basically can sign up, get a card at speed without having to wait, weeks and weeks for something to turn up in the mail. Is that how quick it is for you guys? Where basically I can get a debit card and then I've got the electronic version straight away, or is there a lag?
Yeah, so for us, we send out a debit card and then you can apply that card into your Apple and Google Wallet. The reason we do that is because there's still, I don't know if you use the automatic fuel teller, right? So I use it, the Waitomo's, etc., because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
Where you still need to insert a card, and so you can't use those services if you don't have a physical card. So we offer both a physical card and a digital card for customers.
Yeah. And I think as well, like one thing I've noticed, even using PayWave on my phone, you're then getting a 2-point-something% surcharge at many places. So I'm a bit old school, but I'm inserting the physical card and bypassing that.
Yeah, look, there's some work happening with the Commerce Commission at the moment about surcharging. Surcharging's become a bit of an epidemic.
Yeah.
You can't go to a terminal and tap your card without getting surcharged, and some of those surcharges certainly add up over a period of time. So there is some work happening with the Commerce Commission that I think they're due to come out in the next month or two around capping what those surcharges can be, which I think be great for consumers.
Yeah, I was paying for something the other day and it wasn't a small transaction and it came up and it didn't have that there'd be a surcharge or anything. I thought, oh, epic, just tapped. And then, poof, the number just changed in front of me, just another 1%. I'm like, oh, okay, great. But at 1%, you're almost like, oh, that's not even that bad anymore. But yeah, I mean,
1%'s a bargain in terms of surcharging. You see kind of ones much higher than that. And, if you're going out for a restaurant meal, which, price of food these days, it can be pretty punchy.
Yeah.
You get an extra kind of 3% put on top of that. It's, it soons that up. So, look, it's some interesting dynamics in the market at the moment. And, ultimately, I'd like to see a time when the surcharging gets removed.
Yeah. And so on those customers, before we jumped on, you were mentioning that often it's people who are more familiar with these types of products already. Do you want to just touch on that for us?
Yeah, so we see a lot of people coming into New Zealand from overseas that come to us and say, oh, great, it's so great Dosh is in the market because I used these services when I was living overseas. And so they've got an affinity with the tech and they're familiar with it. They're also probably not growing up hearing ASB, Westpac, ANZ,
every half an hour.
Yeah, and BNZ kind of, and have that kind of brand kind of built into them and built into their parents, who are obviously, often it'll be your parents who'll kind of take you and open that first bank account with you. So we are finding people who come in from overseas, some of the biggest adopters of Dosh in our customer base, and that's a familiarity and a comfort with these type of services that they've used overseas.
Yeah. Where do you see the future of banking going for, how deep you're in this space? Where are we going to end up, do you think?
Well, I think the days of going to visit your branch and meet with your banker are probably long gone. I mean, most of the young people listening to this probably have never done that, right? When was the last time you went into a branch? But the reality is that those branches are all over New Zealand and they cost a fortune to run. And so the cost of having to do that is when you're getting charged for your banking services, they need to pay off those branches and those people. So there is a model going forward, and Dosh is leading on this, which is digital, which means that it's lower cost, which means you don't get charged as much. One thing I always think is interesting about banking, though, is people go, but I don't get charged. I might get an occasional fee. Now, those charges are all built into the rates you pay, or the rates you don't get paid in terms of your deposits, or the rates you do pay in terms of your home loans, right? So there are opportunities with a lower cost model such as digital to get better value, which means higher interest rates on your deposits, lower interest rates, and more discounts and cashback on your home loans, for example. That is what the future looks like. And I'll give you an example. So in Australia, it's all about the digital mortgage battle at the moment, and it has been for the last kind of year or two. It's customers coming in, getting digital mortgages, which like Dosh, you can apply via a website or an app, and getting faster, better solutions and benefiting from those. And that has become the hotbed of home loan competition in the Australian market. Wow. It's a matter of time before that becomes the case here, and going to see your banker or giving your bank a call is not the normal path of getting your home loan.
And then those rates are cheaper than the Australian banks? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, so they can be, or they can be additional discounts on top. Where there's an organisation called Unloan in Australia, which is a partner with CBA, which is one of the main banks, the owner of ASB. There's quite a similar offering to what Dosh has got, which is, as you have your home loan via Unloan, you get these additional discounts. That's been exceptionally popular. So for us, it's we look at what's happening overseas, and we think would Kiwis love an annual discount on their home loan? Sure.
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit of a freebie, right? So why not? And so we bring those into the market.
So the difference between New Zealand and Aussie in terms of banking, like, do they have a lot more competition?
Yes, they do, although they do have the same kind of major players. They do have some new providers that have come into the market, though. So Macquarie's entered the digital mortgage market and have made big inroads. Upbank is the digital bank similar to what Dosh offers. That's highly regarded as one of the best kind of digital banking providers in the world. So they are quite a bit more advanced in terms of what you can access, different solutions, the different experiences than what we're seeing here. What we're seeing here has been really vanilla for years, right? It's literally, it's a 1 year fixed home loan, and you're looking at what is the rate and what is the cashback I can get if I change banks. Whereas what we're saying was, well, there's more to it, right? You can get more on top of that if you look around a bit more.
Yeah, got you. So going back to how we complain about how much banks are profiting, like you've been in the space for a long time. Why do Kiwi people have so much trust in banks, and then they won't change insurance, KiwiSaver, mortgages, of course, as well? They're so happy to be disgruntled but won't actually change anything.
Yeah, and the disgruntlement's real, right? I mean, people really do feel that in a cost of living crisis, it's tough out there for people, and a few extra dollars here and there can make a difference over time in terms of their financial position. So, but people need to act, right? Like you can't say, oh, I'm disgruntled because banks are making excessive profits and I'm struggling. There are other opportunities out there. I think there's a perception that it's difficult to change. And so what we've done is we've said, well, this is something that you can have in addition to your bank, right? So you can, with Dosh, you can get your salaries and wages paid in, or you can bring money in from your main banking provider. That way you can access the card and you can get your $10 cash back every month. In addition to that, we can bring your savings over, right? And so there's a perception that, well, that must be quite hard to do and I don't want to change everything. But the reality is you can access some of these solutions and get these benefits without having to make major change. When it comes to home loans, yeah, I think when you change home loan provider, there is a little bit of additional work, but the upside's much greater as well. I mean, you're going to get paid an additional $900 every year plus, some money to change provider. It makes sense.
Yeah, I think something you touched on earlier, but one of the things that I observe is that we put a lot of safety in banks. So we think that they can't go under, therefore as soon as you move it outside of the bank, then that's where you're opening yourself up to risk. And so I almost wonder with is it the deposit guarantee scheme, of the depositor guarantee scheme they call it?
Yeah, the deposit compensation scheme.
Gotcha, yeah. All that's going to do is encourage people to leave funds with banks because they'll be looking at it going, because I think people thought that something like that was already in place, but now with it being there to $100,000 for the everyday person who's not right into their finance and whatnot, they're just going to go, I need to leave it with the bank because this is my place of safety.
Yeah. So let me kind of just talk through a little bit of detail in terms of how some of the offerings work, right? So there's a number of parties, Sharesies, Squirrel, Dosh, who all have a very similar solution, which is we hold funds on trust at the banks. So you put your money with Squirrel, you put your money with Dosh. Dosh provides you a rate. But those funds are held at a bank, and the bank pays Dosh a rate. So, and of course, those rates are kind of wholesale rates. So let me talk you through it. So if we have 10,000 customers who all leave their savings with Dosh, Dosh pulls that money and leaves it on trust at a bank. The bank pays us the rate for having that $10 million, which is obviously more than you're going to get paid if you leave $1,000 at the bank individually, right? So we get paid more, we take a small margin, and we provide that benefit onto the customer. So the customer gets a better rate than if they had gone to the bank directly. So that's how these providers such as Dosh and Squirrel and Sharesies are able to offer these solutions and offer better rates because they pull the money together rather than having it individually.
And then you're still protected by the safety of the compensation scheme.
Yeah, up to 100,000.
What I reckon people are going to do is go around planting. Yeah. But I think when I read about it, the 100 grand covers 97% of people's savings anyway.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there was an assumption that that's kind of covered already today.
Yeah.
And then if the banks went under, people wouldn't lose their money. The reality is that the banks are extremely well capitalised through the global financial crisis, which seems like a long time ago now.
Yeah.
New Zealand and Australia fared particularly well, and there has been a real focus on financial stability from the Reserve Bank over time. And so, I think the funds held in banks are relatively safe. And this is really what if that kind of 1 in 100 year event happened and customers lost money? How do you prevent that from happening?
Just to be clear, going back to the operators who do provide these savings accounts, because it does seem like every second week there's somebody popping up saying, you can save money with us now, but it is backed by the bank. You're specifically talking about those offerings, right? Because I do believe one of the people might go, does that mean that my Sharesies that I'm buying some shares in, that's covered by something, or that's how it works effectively, then the banks have it, or Squirrel, I think you mentioned. But often you've got to understand the offering that they've got out in the market, right? Because I think some of them might actually have offerings where you're it's like peer-to-peer type lending.
Yeah,
and stuff
look,
as well.
I would recommend everyone read the details very carefully and get financial advice if you feel you need to, because some of these offerings are not funds held on trust at a bank.
Yeah.
Some of these are funds held in a fund, which consists of some bank deposits plus some other things which would be more higher risk that make the offering a higher risk. And so therefore it's not the same offering. So if you're reading that the funds are held in some sort of fund that is made up of a number of things, then that's not cash held at a bank.
Yeah, very different. Okay, open banking, what do we not know about it for the everyday person, and how much is it going to change banking when we get further down the path?
Yeah, I think the thing with open banking is a couple of things here. One is it was originally misconstrued as changing bank numbers or changing bank provider. So that's not what open banking is, although that could be potentially one of the benefits that can come from it. And then the other thing is, so what does it kind of mean for me, right? And I don't think we've done a great job being able to articulate it. Open banking enables other providers, such as Dosh, but there's a range of other services that are coming down the path, to be able to access, say, for example, bank payments or bank information, to be able to provide services to customers, which you'll benefit from because they'll be quicker or faster or more innovative or better value, etc. And so you won't really kind of see that or even probably know it's built on open banking until those services come to market. Where we're at the moment is the fact that these services have been set up, and now there's a whole range of new businesses that have been built on top of them.
Nice, now that we've got it. So is it pretty far down the path, open banking, or is there still like a long way to go? Or like it's there, we just got to build on top of it?
Yeah, it's making really good progress. You're seeing the government driving the providers hard to meet deadlines to get new services out of the market. And so I would think in the next kind of 3 years, you'll begin to see new offerings entering the market that are built on open banking.
Yeah, okay. Is there anything that you guys are thinking about building that you can give us a little insight to, or a product that may be down the line?
Yeah, so for us, our business is not built on a need for open banking rails. So our business is more about kind of digital experiences, utilizing partners to bring in better value for customers. So ultimately, if you use Dosh, you're going to end up with more money in your back pocket. How we then go about making some of those services easier to use and more accessible, such as when you apply for a loan, we need to access your bank information in order to be able to look at your transactions, to do credit assessments, et cetera, et cetera. How do you do that in a really easy, seamless way, as opposed to the way it works today? Is one of those things that might improve. But, we're looking at other things in the market, such as there's a range of financial services we think customers could get better value from. Today we've done your card and your savings and your home loan, but there are other financial services we think are out there that could definitely benefit from better value in this market.
So you guys started Dosh in 2021, then you say you raise funds. So is this, who owns Dosh now?
Yes, it's a good question. So Dosh is majority owned by myself and my co-founder.
Yeah.
We've got some other parties in there who have invested along the path, who've been great supporters of ours to get us to where we are today. We're kind of invested, got companies and private individuals invested in Dosh, so we don't have any venture capital funds in Dosh, which for us has been a slightly different path than others have taken. But for us, we really enjoyed what we've received from the investor community and the support that we've received as well. So look, it's been a really interesting journey over 4 years' time, and we started as just an app that you could do kind of simple peer-to-peer payments. We added cards and savings and loans, and we're really excited that we've been able to get to a point where we're offering some of the most competitive offerings in the market, and we think that people will be generally better off using our services. And now it's just, well, how big can we take that and how far can we take that?
Yeah, good on you. Yeah, what's it like trying to build something like this? I try to pop off an accounting firm. People try and start a shoe store or an e-commerce. You're like, right, let's take the banks on.
Yeah.
It must be very hard to switch off, and the grind must be real.
Yeah, look, there's been days where I think trying to start a bank was the silliest thing I've come up with. And there's been days where it's pretty tough, right? Because you're trying to create something that's new and different and hasn't been done before. That means kind of breaking through a whole lot of barriers and kind of people saying, well, that's not possible, or you can't do that when you apply for a bank license. Last year, we were the first startup to apply for a bank license since Kiwi Bank 25 years ago. So when you're the first to have done this ever or in a recent period of time, you get a lot of people kind of saying, I'm not sure you can do that. Are you allowed to do that? Or, what are the rules? And so for us, it's been a real matter of just grinding out the build, always looking at how can we do things better, cheaper, faster, with better benefits for New Zealanders, and then how can we bring it to market in a way that meets consumers' needs. And so for our perspective, if you keep the customer at the front of that in everything we do, then ultimately that'll deliver more value for customers, and that's the basis of what we've done. Yeah,
nice. All right, so the energy levels are still high.
Yeah. Well, I think, if you talk to any founder group, it's a real challenge getting something off the ground. I always say one of our biggest achievement was getting started. I think getting funding and bringing a proposition into the market really tough. And I think for anyone who's been able to achieve that, congratulations. It's no easy task. It's then, well, how do you get product market fit and then kind of take that to a scaled profitable business. And I think in the New Zealand market it's relatively challenging. There's not a high proportion of businesses that get that level where they earn over $1 million and they're profitable. And so it's a tough ask, but for us, we're really pleased with the progress we've made. We're really excited about the future and where we think we can take Dosh. We're really excited about the value we think we can give back to customers.
It must be a bit of a pinch yourself moment to think you've got 40,000 customers. Like, that's not a small amount of people, and let alone to turn them into customers.
Yeah, look, it's we're really pleased with the response we've had from New Zealand, but we think there's a lot more. I think with the offerings that we've got in the market, really encourage people who are wanting to get better value to come in and give us a try. We think that there is pleased with 40,000, should be 400,000. And that's every founder's kind of perspective on their business, right? But for us, we think that as people get greater comfort with the fact that there's new solutions in the market, new alternatives, and they find that they're reasonably easy to access, and they start to enjoy the benefits of that, we see this being a multiplier in terms of the number of people coming in and using our services.
Because I'd imagine not only would you have people saying, "Oh, can you do that?" but you must have knockers along the way that have just outright say, like, "You can't do that. Like, you can't take on the banks, etc." Have you had to face a fair bit of that? Yeah,
I think anyone who's gone to venture capital will know that you get knocked back quite a lot. You've got to be relatively resilient in that, because if you're doing something new in the New Zealand market, there's a perception that New Zealand's a relatively small market. If you're going to create a business of value, you need to export it off to the rest of the world. People say to me, "Oh, so what countries are you taking Dosh to next?" So, well, I'm a Kiwi and my co-founder's a Kiwi and we want to do great things in New Zealand. That's not necessarily what the venture capital firms want to hear. That's not to say there isn't opportunities in the future for Dosh to go offshore, but we really want to prove ourselves in the New Zealand market first and deliver value here, because the solutions that we're providing here exist in the other part of the world and not in New Zealand.
What's the team size now?
Yeah, so we've got a team of 11 at the moment across various kind of aspects of the business. You might think, well, that doesn't sound like much to run a small bank-like entity, but that's just how efficient it is. The bank kind of mostly runs itself, and that means that we're able to spend lots of time kind of working with customers and kind of identifying kind of the next best proposition and next value for customers.
And I suppose as well, people forget, you might be 11 staff, but I think when people hear something like that, they overlook, well, you've got partners and contractors and stuff, but you get to leverage off of the partners that you do have, right?
Yeah, so I would say at any one time we've got over 100 people working on Dosh.
Yeah.
So we're
lean internally, but
Yes, so we're a big user of outsource support and providers where we can. And the reason we do that is because it's we want to get the best of everyone's expertise, and that means that we don't necessarily have to kind of own and house and water and feed that expertise internally. It means you can kind of ramp things up and ramp things down as you need as well. So from a business model perspective, it's all about, how can we build it, get it in market, it proven, and then decide kind of what we want to bring internal or not. It's been a business model that's really worked for us.
Are there any jobs going at the moment? Just thinking unemployment's quite high at the moment. We do our bit for the career space. Any roles going?
Yeah, no, it sounds like a plug, but it's not, because I'm putting a job ad out today. So we're putting a job out today for a lending manager, someone who can come in and help us drive our home loan growth, working with customers to take up this new offer and to get them set up. It's a really important job for us in our business, because home loans is a really important offering, and something that's relatively new for us.
What's the most exciting piece of Dosh for you?
Yeah, I think for me it's just seeing it come to life and see the customers' feedback. Like, we've genuinely had people say to us, this is the easiest banking experience I've ever had, and and that type of stuff. You put a lot of hours and sweat and tears and thought and refinement into trying to get your offerings in the right space and have those customer experiences working. And in financial services, it's really not easy, because there's a lot of rules and regulations that you need to meet as well. But to have people kind of give that feedback and share it with their friends and refer is really, it's really great, and we really enjoy that aspect of it.
Are any of the political parties like more interested in what you're doing than others, or have they reached out? Because, we talk a lot in this country about needing competition and whatnot in these major industries. Do they actually go, oh, shit, there's some people actually having a crack at it?
Yeah, so look, I'll be honest, we've had fantastic political support. There's a real demand for a new Kiwi player to come into this space and to make inroads. And there's a lot of work happening by the current government to try and get tangible outcomes along the path. And so, they're working with the Commerce Commission and the Reserve Bank to, how can we get this set up and working? How do we support these firms? How do we remove some of the barriers, and some of the barriers are pretty high, to being able to have Dosh become a bank and providing these services to customers. So, we've been really pleased with the response that we've had from government, and there is a genuine desire to see new players in the space and having them succeed.
Well, that'd probably be quite reassuring for people to hear that the government are actually A, doing something, but B actually helping firms go further down the path and actually wanting to see change, rather than it just being headlines and like another sort of report into what we already sort of know. Yeah,
so in terms of, for myself, in terms of my roles, I've never really had a lot of government engagement. And maybe you can get some perceptions about what people do down in Wellington. But I've been really kind of blown away by the energy that's come in behind it, and a genuine desire to see change. And that is predominantly led, because you see it in banking, but you see it in the supermarket focus as well, is predominantly about, these are two of the biggest expense items for people. How do we get customers better value on both of those, right? Because if you get better value on your home loan and your financial services, and you get better value on your groceries, genuinely those are services that everyone in the country uses, and so therefore everyone in the country is better off. And I think that's a lot of the big driver behind it.
Yeah, they're two of our biggest costs for our entire lives, right?
They are.
Food and shelter. Yeah. Exciting stuff, mate. Well, you guys are the first, right? Digital bank?
Yeah. So we're not a bank yet. We're applying to be a bank, but we the Reserve Bank will give me a call if I say that I'm a bank when I'm not. Yeah. But we were the first to apply for our license back in almost a year ago, and we're working through that process with the Reserve Bank.
Well, somebody's got to go first, so well done. I don't think I'd be ballsy and brave enough to do it, but well done, having a crack at something this big. If people want to get in touch and find more information, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so two ways. So you go to our website, dosh.nz. It's .nz, not .co.nz. And we've got all of our information offering there. Or alternatively, you can just go to the App Store, download Dosh, register, and it takes about 2 minutes, and you can get an account and get straight into it. Give us a go.
Simple as that. And if they want to apply for that lending manager role, are they reaching straight out to you, mate? Or
well, I think you can tap me on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Or else we'll put it out on Seek and Zeal.
Good on you. Well, really, really impressive with what you guys are building, and especially to get to 40,000 customers. That surprised me. So good on you. I bet you'd be so deep in the grind that you probably don't take a moment to celebrate and see how far you've come. But to do that in 4 years, I'm looking forward to seeing how the next 4 years plays out for Dosh.
Great. Thanks very much for having me along. It's been a really great chat.